renderings of the new stadium really are stunning, and it's hard to believe they'll play football right over there in just a couple of years. But this huge redevelopment, it's happening right next to a neighborhood that's been here a long, long time. They'll hear the roar of the crowd on Sundays, absolutely, heard it the last time too. But they want to make sure they're getting in on some of the rising tide of the investment too. So how do you build a massive stadium these days without locking out the nearby neighbors? What's your first thought?
I loved it.
My first thought was it's a pretty picture. I hope that it becomes that.
It's a beautiful structure.
Yeah.
I think there could have been a bit more care and respect to the neighborhood in those renderings.
I love the team, and I grew up going to that stadium.
After a decades-long fight, professional football is headed back to the district.
I talked to my neighbors. They've been here for many generations, and they're afraid of losing their houses. I think that we keep talking about the stadium as an anchor.
Yeah.
And the real anchor of Ward 7 is its people. We can do both. It can be a yes and situation.
Yes, and. Did you hear that? I love that phrase. For anyone looking at this new stadium, this moment is kind of like an hour before a first date. You've been promised the world. You think it's about to be delivered, but you're not quite certain. That first view of the stadium is a good one, maybe a great one, but depending on what comes next, it will define decades of DC's future. And aside from the team, maybe there's no one with more at stake than the people who live on the fringes of what RFK is about to become. For more context, we wanted to know what they're thinking, how often city leaders are thinking about them, and how this plays out in NFL cities across our country. This is For More Context, your seat in the News 4 newsroom for a conversation about how we check facts, fight for answers, break stories, and hold each other accountable.
Tonight, we're getting our first look at what the new Washington Commanders Stadium will look like.
Let's check in with team insider JP Finley. JP, you've been talking to people too.
I think overwhelmingly people are excited about it. Now, it's just the renderings. You got to get it all the way to completion, obviously.
What's your first thought?
I loved it.
Yeah?
I love it. I think it has that kind of modern natural light look that I wanted, where you're inside, sure, but it feels outdoors. And then the mayor called it waviness, which I thought was so cool, just like the homage to the original RFK with that sloped roof. I don't know if it'll end up looking like columns like that, but I love it.
Sort of fits in DC.
My first thought was it's a pretty picture. I hope that it becomes that.
What's the warning?
Yeah, reserved optimism, but you know, it's a good start. It's a really good start.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of see what happens from there.
What'd you make when you saw the rendering?
The rendering, you know, it's a beautiful structure.
Yeah.
I think there could have been a bit more care and respect to the neighborhood in those renderings, because there's not really much speaking to the surrounding area. I moved here for this gorgeous view, and it would be a real shame to cut off this whole community from that amenity.
It can be easy to be excited about a new stadium, but Alexis Pazmino sees a larger picture. She's a neighborhood leader in Kingman Park, an historic neighborhood that shares a property line with the RFK campus, and she has a lot more to worry about than just the team's new home. You knew the stadium was there, and
I knew
it wasn't going to be vacant forever.
Right. And I came into this neighborhood being excited about the Commanders coming back. And you know, I think a lot of the neighborhood is really excited for this economic development. We just want to make sure that the neighborhood is really going to be centered in this process.
The mayor's called this a catalyst for the entire city and the largest investment in the history of DC. But what is it you want to make sure isn't forgotten about where we're walking now, just steps from where all this money will be spent?
Yeah, I mean, it is a very big investment from the Commanders, but it's also a really big investment from the community here, from taxpayers. So I want to make sure that the DC taxpayers, that Ward 7 is really centered in this process, that we see actual community benefits.
And what does that mean?
I think that everyone can agree that we want this to be a transit-centered, zero-waste, green-focused, local job hub that serves not only fans on game day or fans going to see Beyonce when she performs here, but my neighbors 365 days a year.
How do they do that?
I mean, we've got money in our pockets. We would love to see a grocery store at the site. Ward 7 only has 2 full-service grocery stores. Ward 8 only has 1. So We need grocery stores to
But why is it
feed
on
our
the team
neighbors.
to make sure that you have a grocery store?
I think that we keep talking about the stadium as an anchor,
Yeah.
and the real anchor of Ward 7 is its people.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to feed our people. We can do both. It can be a yes and situation. So we want to make sure that this site is not only used on the few game or event days, but that it's really activated to get the full benefit of what the taxpayers have paid for.
Kingman Park is a historic neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you think it will change when you pump billions of dollars blocks away?
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely concerned about displacement.
Yeah.
You know, I talk to my neighbors. They've been here for many generations, and they're afraid of losing their houses. They're afraid
Why?
of their income taxes going up and then not being able to pay them. They're afraid of being priced out of their
Because
rental
people will
homes.
want to be close to the stadium.
Exactly.
Because rents and property values will rise so much because of the investment here, they can't afford to stay here.
Exactly.
You're finally off the road. How many stadiums did you guys visit this year?
I don't even remember, man. It's become such a blur. I know right now I've covered every NFL stadium. I'm sure you have. But that'll change. The Bills are about to open a new one.
Yep.
Nashville's right behind it.
Yep.
So we have
And
more
how
work to
many of
do.
the newer ones, well, and for that matter, how many of the older ones are built sort of right inside a city where there are no longer these massive parking lots around stadiums?
I mean, the old one, speaking of, that's your hometown.
Yeah, Green
like,
Bay, yeah.
Lambeau
Bay.
is incredible.
Green Bay cheats though, because it's been there since 1957. It was built a city stadium. So, and as we talked before, when it was built, two sides of the city were fighting to have it built there.
That's
not
funny.
Instead of not in my backyard, it was like, yes, please, in my backyard.
And if there's opposition to Lambeau today, well, you better keep it to yourself.
It doesn't
Well,
exist.
yeah.
Well, now, you know what would be interesting in the Lambeau conversation is what you see when you're there now. It seems like more and more people are buying up those houses and turning them into like high-end Airbnbs.
Right.
I could see that making people mad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because but people nearby are using their front lawns for parking and making money
Totally.
off it. So they're
Hosting tailgates.
They get it. The only issue there is the city and the county own the stadium and lease it back to the Packers. So there's some squabbling about how much rent to pay and stuff like that. But other than that, it's very much kumbaya, let's go Packers, everyone's happy.
So as you talk to folks about RFK and as you look at how it compares to some of these other stadiums, you know, what do you expect to see rise up there, and how will it relate to the neighborhood?
I think this past season we got to go to a couple of great examples, and I believe they've selected the same architects.
Yeah.
For me, for RFK, obviously SoFi is incredible, but SoFi's architecture is also a byproduct of Southern California having perfect weather, because SoFi is somehow indoors and outdoors, which they're not going to be able to replicate that here with winter.
Right.
You
So
know
are
what I mean?
elementary schools in LA, for God's sake.
Right, exactly. But Atlanta and Minnesota are both urban. They're both downtown. The stadiums, the physical stadiums, and how much natural light you get, I love. And I think if RFK starts to look like something like that, is a huge win for the city. And Atlanta's so big and spread out. That's a unique beast, but it's downtown. Atlanta seemed to have more neighborhoods around it. One thing that I think people scream about with the tailgating, life finds a way, man. There's gonna be a way to drink beer and barbecue meat. And I remember at this like Exxon station, kind of like 2 blocks away from whatever the Mercedes-Benz Stadium is, just was hosting a tailgate. There was like a DJ and a giant smoker with ribs, and like I think tailgating will figure that stuff out. The biggest thing I think that we have to try to like think forward on is rideshare. And I think it won't be that hard to just get a rideshare to a bar that's 3 blocks away and then walk. Like I think that will be one of the biggest differences from now to then. Detroit and Seattle are both urban stadiums.
Right.
And Detroit is like downtown. Seattle's kind of similarly like walkable, but a little far, like a 20-minute-ish walk from what I would consider like downtown Seattle. But both of those stadiums, and it gets packed. They have this like perimeter where you're still outside the stadium, just packed with vendors. Maybe requires some adaptability.
Are Washington football fans adaptable?
They've watched 30 years of terrible football. I think they'll figure it out.
And I think this ownership group, especially this ownership group, will probably listen a lot better than the previous groups or other groups. in trying to find that happy medium, but still knowing that we're not a nonprofit, we're a for-profit organization, but we also want to make this work. And the better we make it work, the better it'll be for everybody.
For the folks that live there, it's not like this is a new stadium site. There's been a stadium there.
But
the difference is the stuff surrounding it. I think the construction process will probably be awful for residents in that immediate area. But I think, and I don't know this, and maybe I'm just being optimistic, but like I think the finished product will be way better for area residents. You're talking about grocery stores and restaurants and stuff that isn't there.
much of your adult life.
Almost all of my life, yes.
You've seen a stadium there.
I know.
What's it like?
Well, it's an interesting view. I can't wait to see that view blocked again by the beautiful stadium that's going to be there. If you remember, anybody that's watched the Washington play, you know, in a nighttime game back in the day, there was the iconic shot where they would lift up and you'd see the mall and the Capitol and everything.
Right.
And we're going to have that not only from the outside, but from inside the stadium. You're going to be able to see that stuff.
Come on.
Yes, absolutely.
Day to day, Brian Hanlon runs DC's Department of Buildings, but he's also DC's point man on the RFK project, appointed by Mayor Bowser as the RFK project executive. A DC native who now has to make sure the city's billions are spent right. The project moves and promises are kept.
I went to Gonzaga.
You're DC born and bred here, right?
I did. I went to Gonzaga, so I like to say I bleed purple, but my heart is burgundy and gold. So that's I love the team, and I grew up going to that stadium. So
but let me ask you, because now your job is bigger than just being a fan. How do you sort of look at these neighborhoods that we're walking through and make sure that they get a benefit out of what you and the team are doing just across the street?
Yeah, well, I'm saying, first of all, you know, the mayor's growth agenda is all about doing things that are smart, that are woven into neighborhoods and the spaces and places in the city that can make great impact. All the planning that's happened till date and that we're still underway with is very much about weaving what happens here so that there's not this divide between the residential neighborhood and all of the districts within the stadium. There's the Plaza District, which is right over here, Kingman Park, there's a recreation district. And so the scale of things will kind of meet the neighborhood in a way that's not shocking. And the ground slopes down right around here. So as the ground slopes down, some of the buildings may get taller, but you're not going to see this sudden. And one of the things that I think people are excited about, and that is very much part of the engagement with the community, is the amount of open space that we see here. 30% of this site will be retained for recreation and open space. You look at the plan of where the stadium will be, plazas around it. It's a very open feel with a lot of great vistas. I think that we're going to have people that are walking here during the week just to sort of enjoy the way the place feels.
But can you assure us at all, and I know it's not all your decision, but can you assure us that the folks here aren't going to be staring across the street at high-rise apartment buildings, high-rise parking decks, sort of block their view, that almost create a fortress RFK?
Well, what I would say is I'll assure you that we've had 10 community meetings thus far. We've got another one coming up on February 4th, I believe it is. And that input has been incredibly valuable to help guide the kind of the density, the shape, the height of things.
What have you heard in those meetings?
People, they talk about parking, they talk about traffic, they talk about making sure that they've got open space. They want to make sure they have access to the fields at RFK, which they will. Those will be maintained. A lot of folks are talking about the health of the river.
No, I mean, the zero waste component really has to be built into the site design. So it's so critical that the team builds wash stations, waste sorting stations, and then composting areas into those designs. It can't be after the fact.
Why would the neighborhood care about that?
Well, this neighborhood is so close to the Anacostia River. We don't want anything, polluting our rivers. We don't want bottles and cans, littering our neighborhoods like we've seen in previous events. So, it can be a stadium for the future, not the past.
So if they came to you and said, all right, tell us your top 3 priorities as we start this process, what are they?
I think it's a transit focus over cars. It is a zero waste mandate, And then it's getting actual benefits for the community, which involve grocery stores, local jobs, and affordable housing.
Do you feel like you have a seat at the table?
You know, I think we have a seat at the table. I'm not sure our voices are always going to be heard. And so we just have to keep asking for what we'd like, and hopefully we're heard.
But to be clear, I mean, you what I don't hear you saying is we don't want the stadium to come here.
No, we're excited for the stadium.
Right?
I'm very happy that the Commanders are coming back to their spiritual home. We just want to make sure that our actual home is respected in this development process.
The one thing I heard that made a lot of sense to me was someone said, we want the stadium, but to us it's a yes and. Can we have some of the plus? Can you help us get a grocery store? Can you help make sure that we have access to the fields? Can you help make sure that 70,000 football fans don't drive through my neighborhood and just throw
let's talk about that. I mean, first I'll just talk about the planned development. So, somewhere in the neighborhood of about, say, 8 million square feet or so of development, 6,500 residential units, 30% of those are affordable. So that's, I mean, it's almost like a small town that is being built here.
Absolutely.
Some mixed use stuff, some hospitality things. A grocery store is in the conversation. So and a really walkable site. WMATA right now is looking at potential upgrades to this site right here that's going to help get folks in and out faster. A lot of the mixed-use development that'll happen here is actually one of the benefits of that is that it actually kind of elongates the event day. So you have a less of a crush in the beginning and less of a crush at the end. It kind of stretches it out. I will walk because I live down on 8th Street that way.
Right.
My mom grew up, by the way, on about 6 blocks that way.
Cool.
There'll be a rapid transit line from North Capitol near Union Station that's going to bring folks up here.
And to answer that, I mean, you really think it won't feel like a fortress?
No, not at all.
You want it to feel seamless.
I think it's going to feel very organically kind of this site, of this city.
Yeah.
In a way, you look across the Potomac River at Roslyn and it kind of just jumps up at you. I don't think that's what we're going to see here.
When will you know that your work is paying off, that this is on the right track, that we have done the best we can, and the end result will be a
God, every day. I mean, it's a daily, you get up, you do your thing, you fight your fight, you work with people. I think we're all engaging in really good faith, and that leads to good things.
And is the team listening to you?
It's great collaboration. Absolutely.
I think this is really kind of a one-of-a-kind situation. I mean, we are not only an urban stadium, but we're a neighborhood stadium.
You excited to go to a game?
I am very excited for all of the events that will be here.
which is not to say the Super Bowl.
Listen, I mean, if DC got the Super Bowl, I'll go. If we get community tickets, I'll go.
There you are. All right. We started with renderings and promises. We end with timelines and plans. The question for people who live in those neighborhoods is whether those promises survive the wait. Let's keep some expectations in check. By 2030, the stadium in the middle of this project is expected to open. All of the rest of the complex has a longer timeline. There is one thing Brian Hanlon did assure us. When it's all done, the Washington Monument will still be the tallest building in the district. The rest, what all those neighbors live with day to day, that's still being decided. If you like this kind of context, and we hope you do, we'd love for you to check out more of it on the NBC Washington YouTube page. Like it, subscribe to it, tell us what you think in the comments. I'm Ted Oberg from the News 4 I-Team. You can find me anywhere on social at TedNBC4. In the meantime, I'll be here working for you.